Last week's CNN presidential debate could go down as one of the worst in history, mostly due to the shocking performance by President Joe Biden. But we have just heard from Donald Trump. He's been caught in a leaked video supplied to the Daily Beast where he revealed what he really thinks about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
What did I do with the debate the other night?
Oh, amazing.
Kick that old broken down pile of crap.
Yeah.
It's a bad guy. He just quit, you know. He's quitting the race.
Is that right?
Yep, I got him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. She's so pathetic.
It's so amazing.
It's just so bad. So
I just can't imagine.
But can you imagine that guy dealing with Putin and the president of China, who's a fierce person? He's a fierce man.
Right.
A very tough guy, and they see him. They probably he can't. But they just announced he's probably quitting.
Good. Very good.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Just keep knocking him out, huh?
He didn't hold back, did he? Let's bring in journalist and commentator Brad Polumbo. Brad, great to be with you again. I can't wait to get your reaction to the debate, but also what Donald Trump's had to say, because he's been pretty quiet up until now.
Well, that's been the smartest thing that he's done, is just sit down and just zip his lip and let them do all the damage to themselves. At the debate, we actually saw remarkably restrained Trump, which aren't two words that you usually put together in a sentence, but he just let Biden have the spotlight, and Biden did so much damage to himself. And this video was really interesting to me, right? Because he almost seems happy either way. On one hand, he's got Biden, who he's currently beating in the polls significantly with a bump after the debate. And on the other hand, if they do swap him out, they have to basically go with Kamala Harris. And she would be an absolute train wreck in her own right.
Absolutely, and we've got a clip of Kamala Harris to play for everyone a little bit later. But let's stick with the debate for now. Joe Biden has admitted that he nearly fell asleep during that debate, and we all saw it, so that's no surprise. But he's now using jet lag as an excuse. Here's his press secretary being questioned about this.
You did get numerous questions yesterday about the president's debate performance. You didn't mention the travel, the jet lag, the foreign trip. So I think you can understand why it was a little bit puzzling to hear the president mentioning that as his explanation for the first time last night. I'm just, can you clarify whether when you took the podium yesterday, did you not know that that was a major
And I want to say
factor?
that is my bad. Definitely part of the explanation of what had occurred. I did know that. I did know that. I did know that. But we were so focused. I was so focused on the cold, and that's what I kind of leaned into and talked about.
My bad. Brad, what do you make of this? You're certainly not helping the fallout.
No, this is, frankly, gaslighting of the highest order. To try to claim, first they tried to blame Biden's disastrous debate performance on a cold that magically wasn't there the next day when he was at a campaign event. And now they're trying to blame jet lag for a trip that he got back from more than a week before the debate. And then he spent that week holed up doing debate prep that only started at 11 a.m. and he took a break for a nap every day in the afternoon. If he still has jet lag, all that while later, after all those naps and those 11 a.m. starts, that's not much of a defense or much of a case that he's up for the job of president, which is probably the most stressful job in the world. So to me, we are just seeing Democrats who are engaging in this gaslighting light their credibility on fire in real time. And it's honestly insulting. Americans aren't stupid. They're not going to have the wool pulled over their eyes this easily. We saw what we saw. It wasn't a cold. It wasn't jet lag. It was the abject state of a president in cognitive decline. And they need to reckon with that reality, not tell us that what we see isn't real.
And let's just recap how bad it was.
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
Brad, I want to get your take. Was that the key moment that he lost the debate, or one of many?
Yeah, that was the most entertaining but also painful moment of the debate when Trump hit him with that one-liner and said, I don't know what he just said, and I don't think he does either, because I laughed out loud. Trump, love him or hate him, the dude is hilarious. But at first I was laughing, but then I found myself getting deeply depressed. I mean, this dude doesn't know what he just said. He starts rambling about how they beat Medicare. What, you beat a health insurance program for the elderly? What does that even mean? I mean, and this is the guy with the nuclear codes. I mean, how are we supposed to sleep at night knowing that? So at first I laughed out loud at that moment in the debate, but I've heard from many other people who were in rooms full of liberals, full of Democrats, and the rooms just went silent and got very uncomfortable very quickly. And I can understand why. It's tough to watch, and frankly, it's kind of scary to watch too.
It's absolutely scary to watch, and I shared a similar journey where there are moments where myself, along with other colleagues in the office, we were laughing out loud because we couldn't believe it. But then afterwards, there was a bit of rage, a bit of anger that this is the leader of the free world and it's not okay. And it's clearly a medical condition, so it's something we probably even shouldn't be laughing at anymore, and it's really sad. But despite the abysmal debate showing, there are still media outlets appearing to cover for Joe Biden. Look at this headline on The Guardian. It reads, Biden comes out swinging in his first speech after presidential debate with Trump. Are they serious, Brad? They can't be.
They are. Some of them are doubling down. Actually, a surprising number actually have called out the president. Even the New York Times has had several op-eds calling for Biden to drop out, and the editorial board even went so far as to say drop out. But we have seen media. The Associated Press just dropped another absurd article trying to say he was still sharp at 81. They are trying to defend him. They just must hate Trump that much that they're willing to just blatantly lie. They're willing to defend the indefensible. I don't know. As a journalist, I would never debase myself in such a manner just because I hate one politician or like another. I mean, ultimately, your credibility and your integrity is your tools of your trade. And if you light them on fire in service of one election or one politician, you're destroying your own career and your own credibility in the eyes of the public. But what's crazy to me is to try to use this debate, or rather this campaign event that he had the next day as, well, he did great then. He read a teleprompter at a brief speech at a campaign event, but he couldn't go a 90-minute debate with 2 breaks, mind you, without totally losing it and admitting that he almost fell asleep during it. That is not the defense or the get out of jail free card that these people seem to think it is. It's just not.
And if it couldn't get any worse, it's been revealed that Hunter Biden has joined meetings with the president and top aides since his father's return from Camp David on Monday, according to NBC News. Let's look at this.
Hunter Biden has been by his father's side ever since they were at Camp David this weekend as a family, where they had some discussions about the president's potential path forward here and his re-election campaign, and that since he returned from Camp David last evening with his father, we understand that Hunter Biden has even joined some meetings and conversations that have taken place between the president and some of his most senior advisors. It is unusual, according to the people we spoke with, for him to be participating at this level.
And the White House confirmed that Hunter Biden joined advisors to help the president prepare for a speech later that day.
Look, the president, as you know, is very close to his family. This is a holiday week, 4th of July. He spent time with his family, as you all know and reported, at Camp David. Hunter came back with him and walked with him into that meeting, that speech prep, and he ended up spending time with his dad and his family that night. That is basically what happened.
The question, though, would be, is he participating in meetings with senior advisors?
What I can say is that he came back with his dad from Camp David. He walked him into the speech prep, and he was in the room.
Of all the people that Joe Biden could call on, Hunter Biden is who he chooses. Brad, why is he doing this?
I have no idea. It is the worst PR move. It is the most baffling thing imaginable to do in this moment of crisis. Yeah, you know what we got to do? call in the crackhead for career advice for the president of the United States. I mean, Hunter Biden is a hot mess. He's got criminal charges. He's got a drug abuse problem. He's a deadbeat dad. He's not got his own life figured out. So he's not in a position to be giving career advice about the future of our nation or helping the president decide whether to run for re-election or not. It's absurd. Of course, I have nothing against the president seeing his son and spending time in a familial capacity, but to have your son at all, but especially when you have such an irresponsible and criminal son involved in intimate decisions about the presidency in a moment of crisis, I mean, that's not a red flag. That's a bouquet of red flags.
It's such a bad move. And as you said at the start, even the PR angle of this, the optics of it is terrible. But look, not just Hunter Biden, I think we really need to look at Jill Biden. I did a story earlier this week suggesting that she is just as to blame, or she's just as bad as Joe Biden at the moment. The First Lady featured on the cover of Vogue magazine wearing a $10,000 suit where she insisted that Joe Biden will not step aside. Now, look, I'm even seeing left-wing media outlets pick up on this point that Jill Biden is partly responsible for this, and she should be the one tapping her husband on the shoulder saying, look, your time's up, you've done a great job. Some may say, others may not agree with that, but whatever, that it's time for him to let go. Brad, what's your thoughts on Jill?
Look, at this point, the First Lady's enabling elder abuse, and I get that she wants to cling to the spotlight and that this is the most relevant she's ever been. I know anybody human, that like allure of power and attention is going to be there, but your husband is humiliating himself in real time in front of the public and humiliating our country and making us look weak in a time of international conflict and war, and you don't take him aside and say, listen, Joe, we've got to stop. You've got to drop out. If she really was looking out for her husband's best interest, Jill Biden would tell Joe not to run again. She would be counseling him to drop out. And obviously we don't know what she's saying behind closed doors, but based on what she's saying publicly, she is encouraging him to stick in the game. And I think that's really, really disturbing. It's not what you'd expect somebody to do if they have the best interests of their spouse in mind.
Yeah, I think seeing her on the cover of Vogue did her husband no favours.